Welcome to the Bold Book of the Day with Dr. Denise Nicholson, a show that is a central hub and safe space for authors to share their stories. The Bold Book with Dr. Denise begins now.
Hello, welcome back to the Bold Book of the Day podcast. Today, I have a guest who brings a whole new meaning to the term pet detective. I'm thrilled to introduce Chloe Grace, or is it Karen Botha? Welcome, Karen.
Hey, so we're confusing people right from the start then. So the reason for the two names there is that I write under both names. My actual name is Karen Botha. The pet detective book's been an entirely different genre to the rather raunchy things that I write in my own name. I've done that the wrong way around, haven't I? Chloe Grace. Just explain that off the back there.
That's right. I appreciate that. The audience must know that Miss Karen Botha is a brilliant mind. And of course, when you have brilliant mind, these struggles happen, okay?
Good personality.
So Karen Botha is the author of Albertus Eagle Detective Beagle series. So if you love cozy mysteries packed with humor, intrigue, and the unique perspective of a crime-solving beagle, then you're in for a treat. Karen, welcome again, and please tell us what gave you the urge to write this book.
Okay, well, thank you for having me to start off with. In terms of writing this book or this series, I've been writing some quite fun books, but entirely different genre, and I was doing it for fun. So why be just stuck in, one genre? And I was like, okay, so what else can I write? And I have to be honest, I did have a look at Amazon and see, where the marketplaces were. And I thought, well, why not? Let's try, literally, why not? Let's try my hand at a cozy mystery. But I didn't want to do it in the same way that as is my way. I didn't want to do it in the same way that everybody else was. I wanted to do something slightly different. So I sat down at the laptop and I started writing just to see what came out. And Albertus Eagle was born, the Detective Beagle. He just came out of nowhere. And the first in the series, Sleeping Dogs Don't Lie, that literally was just me writing in one session. It just came out. The whole thing just evolved like that. I don't know, maybe a couple of hours. And that's like a lead magnet, if you like, into the other two books in the series. But they've got these like huge personalities that I never knew existed. I mean, where do these things come from when you write?
A lot of times I hear people say they start writing and the characters just take on a life of their own. And that's what's going on, girl. And people are loving it. So keep putting it out there.
And Albertus is really sassy.
I'm curious, was there a real life pet that sparked this character?
Not so much that sparked it in the sense that I sat down and I wrote and he came to life. But then when I started writing the characteristics of my dog at the time, who's now passed, they came through for sure, because he was a very smart boy. You could tell he was like listening to what was going on and taking it all in. And that's actually what Albertus is doing. He's taking in all of the information that's going on around him, and everyone just gives it to him because they've got no clue that this guy can speak English. So I think inadvertently it was inspired by Shadow, who was a lab collie cross, not a beagle, but Beagle works with detective and Albertus Eagle.
So have you always been a lover of dogs?
I love dogs, yeah. So my grandma used to breed dogs when I was a kid, and then I've just been grown up always with dogs. But Albertus isn't the only character. He has a sidekick. He has a cat that he's very disgusted that he has to kind of share his home with and everything. So, but actually, I've hardly ever lived with cats. Maybe that is why Albertus is so
disgusting.
The cat, as he calls her, in a loving way.
Your
Big
series,
things about ourselves just come out.
I see. I understand that you're writing about something that you're passionate about, and also you're gathering information about what you're writing from your surroundings. So if you don't like cats, or you haven't had any experience with cats, the cat is appropriate. How do
It's quite bad.
how do you balance the mystery with comedy in your storytelling? Because I understand that your books are filled with humor and satire.
They are, but the humor and satire is about Albertus's take on the world and
Mm,
how he sees things going on from a perspective that we as humans may well not have considered.
mm,
So it's not so much that I'm balancing the two. It's just that his take is the humor and the mysteries going on around as he
yeah.
narrates what he's seeing, which is obscene sometimes, in like from a dog's perspective. He's like, what are these people doing? This isn't in the book, but I did hear something, it was a comedian, and you go out and your human wants to walk, so you go walk with your human, and then you have a poop, and the human, he's picking it up and he's walking with it. Like, what is it with this human? And that's kind of the thing that Albertus is like, all of these things going on being narrated from a different perspective, but the
Mm.
mystery does not pass him by.
I understand that the idea of a dog and even a cat solving crimes is is kind of unique, right? Because I've
Yeah.
seen pet detectives, but it's a dog and a cat solving crimes. And how do you develop the cases and make them believable?
Well, I'm not sure they are actually believable, to be honest. This is fun. This is entertaining. In fact, all of my books, even the ones that are the thrillers and they're a bit more grit to them, I talk about, obviously, when you're a therapist, which, is my day job, you meet a lot of people and people confide in you. So I hear a lot of things from people that you wouldn't necessarily be friends with in a day-to-day basis, and you become close with them because you have this different kind of relationship going on. A bit gritty, and it's a bit threatening in some places, or a bit raunchy. That everything I write is beach books. Nothing is intentionally really clever language. It's more about how the story weaves together in a clever way so that you can move through it fast. If you read this in a day, I'm happy because you've enjoyed it at that point. You've moved through it quick, and then you get to the end of the story and you turn around and you look and you're like, oh, I actually learned something there. Because whether it be about criminals or actually human beings, and they're just trying their best in life. Now, obviously, we're talking about the characters in the book, but I'm feeding this from the truth that I hear in a trusted relationship scenario. Or whether it be that, the poor dog has lost his mistress and she's died and he is gutted, but he can see things about it that humans might miss. There's always something at the end that makes you stop and think. Interracial romances is another genre that I've worked with. People are just people. And the idea is not to spell these things out when I'm writing, to just let it unfold naturally as if you were part of this relationship. I write gay romance as well. A series called Buckle Up, which is about a race car driver and his, I won't spoil it, but someone that he ends up getting with. And I have gay friends and they've read the books and they're like, Karen, like, how do you know that? How do you understand these things from a gay man's perspective? And it's like, it's not a gay man's perspective. It's people. People are humans and they have the same heart and soul in many ways. And that's what makes us tick. That's what makes us connect. And so at the end of the day when you've read this book really fast and it's been very entertaining, if you can just take something like that out of it, then job's done.
I hear you, and I realize that you write in different genres, and I guess that's why you created the alter personality that write one genre and then Karen write another genre. How do you switch up so that you can understand the group that you're writing for and minimize, because the pet detective, are those for children or younger adults?
No, they're for kind of middle-aged housewives who
Okay, okay,
just need some entertainment throughout the day.
okay. What age group do you mostly write for?
Early 30s.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay. So
early
is
30s.
it easy for you to switch up because it's in the same age group, because the genres are so different?
Maybe I really do have multiple personalities. Because I find it so easy, but it depends on my mood, what I'm writing that day.
Uh-huh.
So I think that's why I do need to change genres so much. If I'm in this mood that day, then I need to write a gritty thing because it takes me 5 days to write a novel.
Oh, wow. That's
So I literally
impressive.
sit and write. Yeah, it just comes out. It's crazy.
Can you
Um,
can you tell me more about your story, Karen's story? Tell me about when she was 7 years old. What was she experiencing?
when I was 7, I was head buried in books, fantasizing
Mm.
about a life outside of home.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to grow up, leave home, live my life, and books were my escape. They were
Mm-hmm.
everything to me. I guess as they are to so many people, but especially back in the day, we didn't have TV and phones and things like we do nowadays. It was a book, so I would
Mm-hmm.
literally consume anything, and I
Yeah.
was consuming adult books from whatever I could get my hands on. I was just reading, not
Mm-hmm.
because I did enjoy reading, but I enjoyed the escapism of being at home, which wasn't a happy place to be.
Ah.
So then from that, I've always read, and then I went to uni. I did all those uni things,
Mm-hmm.
messed around for a little bit, kind of lost. I actually didn't lose my way. It was one of the best things that I ever did, but I lost my way in terms of education.
Mm-hmm.
Started one thing, dropped out, started another thing, dropped out, finally ended up doing marketing. So
Mm-hmm.
that's the creative mind there, I guess, and how I can jump from one thing to another. Because if you've got that campaign going on at work, then we're thinking in that way for that consumer. And if we've got that campaign, I can be doing that 5 minutes later and it's a different consumer. It needs to be more professional or, whatever. So maybe it's that skill set that's helped me to be able to sit down and just write for different people and to put my mind in their shoes, because that's what I do. I sit down and I become the characters. I'm not, you're probably not going to like this, I'm not big on planning my books out. I think because I write so fast, it just comes. Like I don't know what's going to happen until it's on the page. And then I'm like, oh, this is good, as I'm writing, and then, quite enjoying the story myself as it's laying out. So lost my way again.
No, it's I'm paying attention and taking notes, because you said you don't even use an outline or plan to write, and that's different for me because I need to do that. But I
Mhm.
understand that to each his own, and some people are more creative when they can just let loose. So it's nice to hear, because I know there are people listening, Karen, and they are like, oh my goodness, this is me. I can't write with the outline. I can't do this, but I can sit down and just in one take start to pour onto the page and the story comes alive. So I
Yeah,
do understand, and I appreciate it, but I also appreciate the diversity of who you are, Karen,
yeah.
because you're an author, but you also do something very interesting, and not just interesting. I believe it's super impactful. Can you tell us about that other life? Because Karen has multiple lives.
Okay, so I gave up doing marketing and decided life was too short for working for someone else, killing yourself, and not getting any return from it. Part of a trigger for that was that I ended up, long story short, with endometriosis. They thought that was something that was going to kill me. It wasn't. It was only endometriosis. I went in for treatment. I was delighted when I came out, having signed my life away, thinking I may well die, didn't die, only endometriosis. However, the treatment that I'd happily signed away for meant that I could no longer have children. Now, had I known then what I know now, the process of working for someone else, the stress, the lifestyle that I was living could have avoided the endometriosis altogether. So, as we do when we become victim to something, we become passionate about learning everything that we can. And so that then led me to becoming a therapist. And now I work with ladies who have been told that there is no option. They cannot have children. There's nothing more that the medical teams can do. And I take them on, and 70% of the time, we will make it work, because there very often are things that you can do, but it's not necessarily traditional Western medicine. The thing is, Western medicine looks at things through an eyeglass. It gets into the real detail of what's going on in a certain area of your body, and it misses everything else that's happening, but the body's connected. So I combine that, because it's great knowledge, with the Eastern philosophies that take into account the entire body and how everything interconnects, mesh the two together, and you have amazing solutions to problems that people have been told were not solvable.
Wow.
Yeah, it's powerful.
That is powerful, because you are taking someone that is hopeless, especially about a very serious, part of life, when you want to create a family and you're being told that that's the end of the road for you. You're taking them and leading them to a land of hope. And that is beyond powerful. That is strengthening. So thank you for that work that you do. Now,
thank you.
How long is the journey when the women come to you?
That is entirely different. So obviously we are starting at a different point with everybody. So some people have just had genuinely lazy doctors who are just like, sorry, I don't understand it, off you go. You do a root cause assessment and you're like, well, I understand it, off we go. And 6 weeks later, 7 weeks later, you're having babies, not having babies, getting pregnant.
Yes.
That's amazing.
That's quick.
I'm that good.
Yeah, that is just a beautiful. Yeah.
But then you have other ladies, and it's a lot more complex. There's a lot more that's interplaying things that we need to work through. And with some ladies, we can't work too fast, because if we do, we're going to throw the body completely out of alignment. One of the big things for fertility is stress. So if you are stressed, it comes in 3 different forms. It's not just mental stress. There's the different stresses on your body. So when you throw too much at it that it can't cope with, even though it's things that would in theory be helpful to it, it stresses the body out. And so you end up going backwards, not moving forward. So things have to be in a stepwise approach in order to be the most effective. So it depends. I mean, I've worked with ladies for a year, 18 months. It happens sometimes.
Okay. Yeah. Do you have a book about this process?
No, I don't, but
not yet.
I should. And I am about to start writing. So the way that I work is on a fertility bandwidth approach. If your body's running too hard in any area of your body, it's using energy, and it's not then got enough bandwidth left to grow a child, because it prioritizes everyday living over new life. So the first book is going to be about that fertility bandwidth approach, and just explaining how important everything interlinking is, And then within the program that I run, I have Relax, Restore, Revive. So we're going to have 3 books, one relax, one restore, one revive. And then hopefully by the end of that series, everyone's going to be able to read it and understand how everything knits together, makes sense to them, and we can all be happy and pregnant.
Now they can probably take this book because you can't be everywhere at once. So maybe a book like that, will be something that a friend can gift to someone they know that's going through some, they're going to infertility issues or having infertility issues.
Absolutely, because
Yeah.
it's a really tricky thing to talk about for both people. If you're going through the infertility, you're very tender, and people feel that from you, so they're not sure how to navigate the conversation. Something like a book that
Yeah.
gives completely, because there's nobody doing this.
Yeah.
It gives a complete fresh perspective on how you can just improve your health as well as your fertility. It's a nice, kind, calm gesture to show that you care, but you're not getting involved in the details, saying it'll be okay, just relax, because then you're on a hiding to nothing.
In case you're wondering, guys, how did we get here?
We've gone round.
Okay, so beyond writing mysteries, Karen also helps women on their fertility journey. So that's where we are in the conversation. Catch up, guys. You got to keep up, okay? So she started this journey after her own issues with fertility. And as you know, there are many women who suffers the same. And so Karen has this beautiful coaching program that helps women. And I was just also encouraging her to write a book so that she can get the message in the hands of women through many different means. Because as women, we're always gathering together and we hold so many secrets and share so many secrets. So this is something that a friend could say, hey, here's a book that I read that was helpful. And I think this is something that, will be helpful for you too. All right. So that's where we are. I'm catching you guys up because we've gone around the bend. But it is, if you're paying attention, it all stems from knowing who the author is and getting down to the real deal of who Karen is. So Karen, you've done some pretty interesting work as an author and then as a coach, and your creativity when you're writing the book. Are you taking notes when you're in your other world doing your coaching program or being a friend, or are you taking real life settings and immersing it into these mysteries?
Yeah, 100%. I'm not actually taking physical notes. I don't even realize that I've logged a lot of the things that I'm typing, and all of a sudden a story that someone has told me ends up in the book. All of a sudden Paula's in the back of a van and they're setting the van on fire. In fact, the most crazy things that you read in the books that you think, oh, she's taking it a bit far now, they're the truth. They're the truth, for sure. Yeah.
So the setting of a cozy village with the hidden secrets and a classic of the mystery. So did you base that on real life? Or was
Actually,
it? Okay.
the classic cozy mystery village is one that I visited maybe 5 or 6 years before I started writing this book. And it's obviously in England. I went there with my husband and we'd been recommended to go to this pub for lunch. The pub was closed until, I don't know, 5 o'clock or something. And we were there at 3. So we went to a coffee shop and we got a coffee and a cake, proper traditional English, where it's got all the flags up and stuff. And it's just come from that. However, the way that it has now ended up in the books, I don't even know if it even represents that, because I was there for about 3 hours once, probably 10 years ago now.
But you find ways to incorporate what you're experiencing into these books.
Pretty much everything in there is real in one format or another. It's just not a real story. It's not the same person that's involved. It's a mishmash of different stories, different elements, different places that have all come together, and now they're one unique person. For instance, in the Naked Truths books, there's a Paula in there. She's a detective, and she's a combination of 3 of my really good friends.
Also, your mysteries are led by a beagle.
Yeah.
So that must have been challenging, and to incorporate the characteristic of not just dogs, but beagles specifically. So yeah.
Well, my ex-boyfriend's mom had a beautiful golden retriever, not golden retriever, lab. Golden lab. She was lovely, so calm. She passed away, and then his mum got this beagle that was an absolute riot. It was like night and day from what we've been used to with Taylor. So that's where the inspiration and the sassiness and the I'm going to do it my way and you're the cat. That's where all of that comes from that one dog. Yeah.
Do you have a favorite scene in one of those mystery books that you've written?
I think that first book, well, it's not really, but it's like a shortened version. It's more the lead magnet. But it's right at the beginning. There's an element where he's on the stage with his mistress at that point, who's a professional piano player, and he's just taking everything in. And I think that might not be particularly interesting for the reader as such, but for me, I think that's where I got to know Albertus. Because you get to know them, don't you, as people, as characters.
As characters, yes.
Yeah. And I think that's where it was, the way he was taking everything in and the way he was adoring his mistress, Millie.
Now, the mistress is in Barking Up the Right Tree, right? That involved the mysterious death of Nellie. Is that the same Nellie?
Yeah, Barking Up the Wrong Tree. Yes,
okay.
That's Millie.
Okay.
Yeah.
So without spoiling it, what can the readers expect about that case?
They can expect to be unable to figure out who it was.
Because it's a mystery. It's a real mystery, guys.
I don't know who it is. I genuinely don't know who it is until I get to the end of any of my books. So I am literally sitting down, writing in all of these characters who could all have a bone to pick. Literally a bone to pick. That should be a new title.
You're just coming up with them. Listen, that was off the cuff, guys. That was off the cuff. Where can people find your books?
They're on Amazon. They're literally just on Amazon. Yeah. So Amazon, UK and US as well. They're there. I don't know how far down the rankings they are now because I haven't done anything to support them for a good few years now.
But they can find them. Yeah, they can find them.
Yeah, they can find them. I found them this afternoon.
So tell us the names of the 3 books.
So there's Sleeping Dogs Don't Lie. Every Dog Has His Day. And then Barking Up the Wrong Tree.
Oh, I thought it was Barking Up the Right Tree. Oh my goodness.
No, Barking Up the Wrong Tree.
Barking Up the Wrong Tree. Barking Up the Wrong Tree, guys. Go out there and
we've all done it.
Karen, okay? I mean, we've all literally either thought we were going to after a goal and thought that this was the right thing, and then turned out it was the wrong tree. We're barking up the wrong tree. Yeah. So now you can go out there and support Karen. You can go on Amazon. Do you have a website, Karen?
No, I don't. No, not anymore. Just on Amazon. Yeah.
I gotta straighten you out and get you all the way together. Okay.
I used to have KarenBotha.com, but I don't think it's in existence anymore.
So what message do you feel the audience or the reader need to take away from this book? The most important message that the audience should take away from this book?
From this book or from my writing in general? Because from
You
this
know
book,
what?
I think never
From
underestimate
your
your
writing in
animal.
general. Yeah, from your writing in general, because this is a series.
Yeah, I think from my writing in general, from any of the genres, it is that people are people, they're human beings. We all want to be loved. We all want to do the right things, but sometimes we just mess it up. And then coming back from having messed it up is where it gets even messier sometimes because we panic.
To err is human.
Yeah, exactly.
That's important, Karen, because we can speak so negatively to ourselves when we err. And here you are saying, we're just going to mess it up sometimes.
Yeah.
And it's okay.
Have you ever done one of those exercises where you have to write down what it is that's blocking you or
Yes, I've done it. Yes. What's
I had to do
stopping you
it.
from getting to your
Yeah.
future goals? Yes, I've done them.
So I had to do one of those the other day, last week. And the person that I was sitting with wrote down, I am not, and underlined not 3 times, really strong handwriting, and then the reason. And I wrote pretty much exactly the same thing, but I put such and such is happening, and this is what's creating the problem. Or I took responsibility for it, but I didn't underline it. And I think that's something that we need as human beings to just lighten up on ourselves a little bit, because we've both written the same thing, but his intention against himself is so
Powerful.
much. Yeah.
So he's overlooking the negative talk to himself.
Yeah. And if I
by
said
focusing
to you,
on it,
you're rubbish, what would you say? Yeah.
If you said to me what?
If I said to you, you're rubbish, like you keep messing up, you'd be like, Karen, that's a bit rude. Like, but you say it to yourself. Or I can't get this book down. What's wrong with me? I'm thick. I must be stupid. I'm not cut out for this. If someone else said that to you when you're sitting writing a book, you'd be hurt. So why is it okay to say these things to ourselves? Because we hear them. We hear them. We hear them when other people don't hear them.
And it's louder. What you say to yourself is more important than what anyone else says to you. So if you want the hope and you have a goal that you want to reach, start with affirmations. Because we're building, there's a part of us that needs to be built while we are working on these goals. So there's a to-do list, and then there's a part of you that needs to be. So a to-do list and a to-be list. Here I am working on my affirmations. How about work on affirmations, guys?
And be as kind to yourself as you would to someone else.
Yes. Karen, thank you so much for this insightful interview. You can come up here again, because you got all the spunk, okay? You got all the spunk, and I love it. But before you go, please, before you go, I love to ask 3 questions to my guests, because I'm kind of like nosy and want to find out about, what y'all have planned for the future. But I also like for you to impart some nuggets on the audience that's listening. So please tell us, what is a bold promise that you can share with the audience?
This is different to one that I thought about, actually. I think a bold promise, just on the back of what we were just talking about, is that if you sit down and you write, and you just write, it might not be the best work that you've ever produced, but you've written. And I can promise you that that is something that a million other people haven't done. And they want to.
I love that. That's a good one, because you're giving credit to the creative part of you that have done it. It's not
Yeah.
perfect, but you've done it.
Yeah. And it's never perfect anyway.
And perfection is illusion, guys. We've said it
Yeah.
here before, so write it down. Perfection is an illusion. Okay, so what's a bold statement that you can share with the audience that will cause a paradigm shift?
I'm repeating myself again a little bit, but I
Mm-hmm,
genuinely think it comes down to how you speak to yourself and
mm-hmm.
the kudos that you give yourself for doing some things that other people aren't doing.
Yeah. So it comes down
And
to
that
that.
links in with the affirmations, doesn't it? So,
Yes. Yeah, it's full circle. It comes right back
yeah.
to speaking positively to yourself. So, what kind of affirmations do you say on a regular basis that will help you be the person to accomplish the goals that you have?
So I actually don't use affirmations anymore.
Okay.
But when I was 19, I moved
Mm.
into my own house on my own. And in my bathroom, I had 2 picture frames, and in those I had 2 affirmations that I printed out. I can't remember what they are now. It's a shame that I can't remember what they are. But I used to say them every time I went to the toilet. And I have a small bladder, so I was saying these things a lot, okay?
Uh-huh.
The point of that is that now I actually don't need them. I sit down. I think you can. I told you the story. My husband was like, well,
Yeah.
what do you want to do? I was like, I want to write a book. Okay, I'm going to go write a book. And I wrote it and it's published.
Yeah.
Maybe that is because I believe I can do things. Maybe I believe I can do things because I did the work before. So it's
Ah,
never too late. It's never too late.
guys, get those affirmations. It's never too late. What's going to happen is you will get to the point where Karen is, where she just is. She's become that positive person, that I can do it kind of girl, that anything she puts her mind to, she just does. And you've seen her switch character 3 times up here, right?
I'm going to get locked up after this. They'll be like, oh, that girl's got problems.
Oh, Karen, thank you for coming. One more question, though. What is a bold move that you would like to make in the future?
I'm going to write those books. I'm going to, and for that is quite a bold book because we're saying, Karen believes in, so she does. I'm going to have to plan those. I can't just sit down and write them. Otherwise, they won't make sense.
So I mean, they can, but guess what? It's a different audience that you're trying to reach. It's not just about mysteries that you know so much because you're so well read. This is about healing and letting your clients, your potential clients, know what you have, all the value that you have, that they now need to get to the goals that they have of their fertility goals. So I can certainly help you with that, and I will help you, girl.
I may well need some help with that. And that's another thing, never be too ashamed to ask for help.
And we can expect more books. So how many books in all have you written? I know this genre, you have 3, but how many books have you written altogether?
I think I've got about 20.
Oh my goodness, this woman, you really have a passion for writing.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
It'll just come out.
That's amazing.
And the worst book I ever wrote was one where I tried to plan it. So I think it's so boring.
So we might have, you know what, I'm going to have to meet with you more frequently, Karen. I'm going to hold your hand to the very end.
Lovely. I would love that. Thank you.
Oh, it was such a pleasure to
it was.
Really just sit and chat. I should have got my coffee,
Yeah.
or my tea. No, she's from the UK, guys. So
yeah. Oh, we had this conversation, didn't we? Yeah, about tea.
Yes, it should have been my tea and the crumpets, and because isn't it the favorite pastime of the UK?
Oh, cup of tea for everything.
And
absolutely.
a cup of, yes. So next time, please come and we'll have a cup of tea.
I would love it.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in and listening to another episode of the Bold Book of the Day. If you would like to get your book idea out of your head and onto paper, stop saying, I don't have time. Stop saying, I don't have the correct grammar. Just send an email to authordnicholson@gmail.com. I will hold your hand from the first page to the last and help you get your book idea out of your head and onto paper so that you can become a published author and make some money, honey. See you next time. Karen, say bye to the people.
Bye. Thank you for listening.
You were amazing. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us for the Bold Book of the Day with Dr. Denise Nicholson, a central hub and a safe space for authors to share their stories. Follow Dr. Denise on Facebook and Instagram at Denise Nicholson, or go to denisenicholson.com. Remember, no one can share your story better than you.